Hey! Welcome, welcome! Happy Wonderland Wednesday! You are watching Alicyn's Wonderland, the show that takes you down the rabbit hole into the wild and wonderful world of animation and video games. Thank you so much to everybody that's tuning in live. Chris, Alicyn Packard Fan 2002, Survey Corp, Josh, Cowboy, Chris Brown, good to see you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in live. I have some big news. For those of you that didn't already know, next Monday, we are launching as a podcast. What does that mean? That means Alicyn's Wonderland is now going to be available on all your podcasting channels. So you can get it through iTunes and you can get it wherever you listen to podcasts. So I'm going to ask that when we do launch, all of you guys that have been so committed and watching the show, please go ahead and leave a review, letting people know how much you like it. It's really going to help us while we launch. You like the new Japania in the background? I know also this is like so awkward. I should probably hang something different up. You guys, today's guest, I am so excited. Elizabeth Ito, the creator of the animated series City of Ghosts for Netflix. I first found this show through my son, and I've just been blown away with it. It's it has such a unique vibe, like kind of like a docuseries. It's different episodes. Each episode focuses on different ghosts throughout the city of Los Angeles. And it's just such a beautiful show. So I'm so excited to welcome Elizabeth. You guys, put your hand, we'll hear it for Elizabeth Ito. Elizabeth Ito. Hi.
Hi, Alicyn.
You look so beautiful. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
You even have like the artistically displayed, beautifully balanced, broken into thirds backdrop.
Thanks. I've been working on it. I've had a little while to manipulate my background since we've all gotten used to doing all this from home. But I really like all the stuff in your background too.
I do probably need to give it another, like the giant butt. I was just like, this is a little awkward.
That's like an NHK character, right? Or
it's Yokai Watch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like
Yes.
I saw it when I definitely saw it in Japan, and I love seeing it back there too.
Yeah, I did the voice of this giant butt.
That's amazing.
We all have our typecast things we're typecast as, and apparently mine's that.
That's amazing. I'm so impressed.
Oh, thanks. So yeah, it's funny. I first heard about City of Ghosts because it came up in my son's Netflix queue. And at first I was like, oh, ghosts. He's 5, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't too scary. And then we watched it and we fell in love with it. And I reached out to you right away. And then I realized, fortunately, we had a friend connect us because obviously you can't take your messages from everybody. But I was so curious about just the whole process that you went through as an artist, and how you got a show like City of Ghosts, which just has such an original, unique feel, how you got that to air. So I was hoping we could chat about that today.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's an unusual journey, so I'm looking forward to telling you all about it.
So you've been working in animation for a long time. You went to Cal Arts, and you've worked as a storyboard supervisor, storyboard artist, a writer. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into animation in the first place?
Yeah, if we go way back when I was a kid, I loved children's books because it was sort of like I loved to draw, and I think like I didn't differentiate, like the person who wrote the book didn't draw the pictures, so I just figured like that's what I want to do. I want to make children's books.
Yeah.
And kind of in between, being little and into drawing and growing up and wanting to do animation, I think like, there was periods in between where I was like, can you be an artist as a job? Like, I don't really know any artists. And from everything that I see on like TV or like characters who are artists, they're always struggling.
Yeah.
Or like they're living in a cool place, but they're also struggling for some reason.
Totally. The lights are getting turned off.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So like, I kind of had to figure out like what art do I want to do. You can't just sort of like roll into making children's books. I mean, I didn't know that when I was little. And then like as I grew up, I just when I got to high school in my 11th grade year, like the summer of that year, I went to this high school program where I learned animation. It was this state-funded um,
Wow.
program called CISA,
What
uh,
state did you grow up in?
California.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, so it was almost like this thing where I just felt like this light went off that just like this was my art form. Like I didn't know it before then because I think before then honestly it just seemed like really tedious. Like what I knew of animation was that people just drew to me like at the time like the same drawing over and over again, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's too much.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so this summer program, I feel like they really showed me what animation was, and then I also found sort of like kindred spirits in other kids. Like I didn't go to an arts high school, so I didn't really have like a situation where I was like surrounded by other artists ever before, and so I think this particular experience was just really life changing. It was just kind of like, oh, like this is the art that I want to do. How can I figure out how to do it? So I think from that moment on, I kind of tried to figure out like how do I get into this. Um, but like there are some people that know earlier than I knew that like, oh, you got to work on life drawing, and they knew a lot of the things that you had to do to get into Cal Arts, and I did not. So it took me a few tries. Like it took me maybe like 3 tries to get into the school, and also it's really expensive. So I also understand that aspect of why some people don't go down that route. Like it's just unreachable for some people. So
Yeah.
I feel like grateful that I was able to do that in my life. But yeah,
Stories like that are always so inspiring, though, because, I'm sure there's a lot of young artists at home that see what you've created and think, oh, the talent and the dedication that must just come easy. So to hear that there were points in your life when it wasn't as easy is incredibly, I think, inspiring.
I hope so. Like I hope, I don't know. Like yeah, if anything, for people seeing what I've made and then hearing about what it's like getting there, like I hope they know like there's not many people where it's easy. There are definitely going to be points where um, it's not easy, and like you kind of have to really be dedicated to what you do like as an artist in order to like uh take it there, like take it to where you want to go.
Yeah. Do you think I was reading something as I was scrolling today about confidence, and this woman, Mel Robbins, that I follow on Instagram, was saying that confidence is 100% a skill, and it's the type of thing you have to develop over time. And I find, time and time again, I come up against that and just have to keep chipping away at, okay, what is the different layer I need to peel back so that I can be um, fully embraced, fully in my art, and not have that voice in my head saying, I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying it, like to be totally honest, like I think I was just thinking about it today. Like it's almost like I I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. It's like this quality to introverts that I've read about where it's like if you're really excited about something, you'll talk about it endlessly, and like you can just sort of get like really talkative when it comes to things that you're really interested in.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel that same way about like what I do, like animation and art and all of those things. Um, but if you were to like, when I talk about it as if it's like confidence, like something that I've learned, I feel like it's more like I've learned um, to like not be as afraid about like being embarrassed or about like uh
Making a
making a
mistake.
yeah, like
Yeah.
publicly making a mistake. Like obviously like I'm still worried about that a lot of the time. Like really worried about being embarrassed or doing the wrong thing or like doing something the wrong way.
Hmm.
But I think like just like I constantly have to remind myself that like other people um, have made mistakes and they're fine and, and they grow and they learn from it and it's not that bad to do that. Like it's not that big of a risk really in your entire life
Yeah.
to like keep kind of making those mistakes and risking it. Yeah, so like I just hope that other people feel more inspired to kind of do that. Like in all ways, like people feel more inspired to take risks on like making a show a different way. Like somebody might eventually say no, but at least you really tried.
And yeah, literally, being able to be bold with your mistakes. I think the older you get, it does. Well, in some ways it gets easier, and in some ways it gets harder. Because when you're young, you're like, oh, you don't realize that you can make mistakes. You just think you're gonna not make them, and then you get older. It becomes part of. I think what helps me appreciate others in their work is seeing the process and seeing the flaws behind the perfection, because anything could be Photoshop, but seeing the process is what is most uplifting, I think.
I'm sorry if I just got disconnected for a minute. This is my first time using Instagram Live, and I tried to clear a phone notification, and it almost called somebody. So I'm sorry.
That has happened to me. It did look like it, like your lights went off for a second.
So sorry.
It's okay. So I was curious, you mentioned that comment about introverts. Do you consider yourself an introvert?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a learning process because when I first sort of like started learning about what being an introvert was like, I remember one of the things was like I told my mom like I think I'm an introvert, and she was like kind of just like no, no, you're not. Um, and I think like it's been a learning process in that like kind of like everything, it exists on a spectrum. And I
Yeah.
know like there's part of me that's definitely introverted, but like I'm in this like profession and this industry where like it's not introverted. Like you're performing, you're creating things that are media that people are watching. So it's very much like you're getting a lot of attention. It's not always like directly at you. Like I'm not an actress, so I don't necessarily like perform in front of people. Um, but like it still feels that way whenever you show your work. So I think it was sort of having to realize like that thing of like, oh, I'm this way because there is part of me that's extroverted. Like there's part of me that likes performing. Um, but I also have to like balance that out with like time alone or just sort of like knowing that I have to be away from people to recharge a bit.
Yeah, I understand that. So I'm curious, how did you come up with the concept for City of Ghosts?
Um, Part of it was uh, I saw a ghost when I was little, and part of it is like see living in LA for my whole life and kind of just like a lot of big cities, it's going through a lot of gentrification in different areas of the city. And
Yeah,
I think like for me, I was trying to figure out like um, how do I make something that helps like show what gentrification is erasing basically, you know, like um and
mhm.
then also like having kids and feeling like I really wanted more shows to watch with my kids, like with
Yeah,
my kids, not kind of like where I, you know, put them down in front of it and they learn something from it through voices that I like I don't always really enjoy. Like for like a lot of the preschool shows, some of them can be a little louder. Um, and like also just for my son, when he was really little, he's a little bit better about it now, but it's still the case. Like he's really sensitive to really heightened drama. So I think like trying to create something that was like just a lot like better for a kid like that, where they wouldn't get scared. I wouldn't have to deal with like part of it was like having to convince him to make it to the end of a movie because in the middle of the movie he would get really like scared and he wouldn't want to continue because he felt like he was just going to continue having scared bad feelings.
Yeah.
So I wanted more stuff that where he didn't have to wait for like a whole another half hour to have stuff resolve and to have that feel good moment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think it was a combination of all of those things together.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I'm also a mom, and I think being a mom, both of us in animation, there's this whole new awareness you get of your audience when you're actually with your audience, and they're, you see, what they react to, and like how old you have a 6-year old?
Yeah,
Six?
so my son just turned 7
Oh,
and my daughter is 4, so
4.
and she's
Oh,
gonna be 5 this year. But yeah, they're still pretty little, but Newton's definitely getting older now, so like it's strange. It's strange how like fast it seems they start to
I know. I always feel like
grow.
it feels like the book Flowers to Algernon, where you have just this limited time with them, where like they think you're wonderful and amazing, and like in 5 years they're gonna be like, "You mom." But yeah, do you feel in any other ways that that's shifted your work or your ambitions?
Yeah, I mean, completely. Part of it is like, I mean, I guess I already believed this, but having kids even more so reinforces it. Like, first, I think kids are really, really perceptive, in general. Like, they'll notice things whether you want them to or not sometimes. Um,
Especially when you don't want them to notice.
yeah, and they'll figure things out really fast, like anything, like how to unlock a phone, like how to, uh, I don't know, to like turn to their favorite channel, how to find something like in the fridge that they like, just stuff like maybe not that because the fridge is a little hard to open, but like in general, just like also enjoying the comedy that kids bring to my life, especially my
Yeah.
kids, like they'll say um strange things sometimes, and I think that's given me more of this resolve to like make sure that dialogue that kids say in whatever I make feels
Yeah.
authentic to that.
It's always funny too when like the kids start repeating the dialogue. Like there's a certain I've been keeping a list of like phrases where it's like, whoa, like suddenly they'll be like, let me see, and you're like, oh yeah. And be like, whoa. Or like we got this. Like that's a big one. So my son will say that a lot because he hears it in his cartoons. Um yeah, kids are just so cool. They're so fun.
Do you feel like they changed your work?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's much easier to tell when you're on a roll or you've come with a good character when you have like a built-in laugh machine right there. And like the other day I was saying something, he's like, Mama, you sound like a teenager. I was like, really? Okay, I take out my voice memo. I'm like, here's the new teenage voice. But now I know I had read on your blog, which is amazing, by the way, if you guys if you haven't checked out Elizabeth's blog, um, #life. Um, you talked a lot about when you were a kid and experiencing some racist bullying in school, and I was curious how that kind of may have impacted your life.
I mean, I think part of it was like really, what do you call it? Like small things that I think when I was really little, um, people didn't really talk about it like racism, you know? Like it was sort of like you would bring something weird for lunch. Like, I mean, not weird to me, just weird to some other kid. Like I remember I brought like a rice ball to school. And this isn't even really a dig, but somebody was like, what are you eating, a snowball or something like that. But like when you're a kid, for whatever reason, like anything, something like tiny that some other kid says, you feel really like insulted or just sort of like you just don't want to stand out in that way ever. So I
Yeah.
think like I learned like when somebody asks you in a class full of mostly kids that don't really look like you, like, what's your favorite food? Like, I wouldn't really um, say like this specific Japanese dish that I like. Like, I really liked soba noodles when I was little. I still like them now. But like when I was like, in first grade or kindergarten, it would be hard to say like, oh, I like soba, and then it's like, what's that? And then how much explaining do you have to do? And like, you don't really want to talk that much. So like, um, I think I'd, sometimes just revert to like pizza because every kid knew what that was, and I also liked pizza, okay? Um, and then just like through junior high and high school, it was, stuff like somebody saying, hey, Chinese girl, or, like whatever version of that. And you kind of having to decide, like, do I correct them? Do I say something back? Or do I just kind of like avoid it and eat it and then like wait until I get home and complain about it, or stuff like that? And I think most of the time, just sort of like for personal safety, you sort of just decide like, I'm just gonna leave that. There were times where I said something back, and then like like some girl grabbed my hair in like junior high, and I think I decided like I don't think I'm gonna do that again, even though like it felt kind of worth it to say something back. I don't really want to get punched in the face, so I'm not gonna do that again.
Wow. Yeah. Nobody wants to feel othered or left out of their peer group. I think, no matter for whatever reason that is, whether, you look different or whether you act different. And we all do at some point or another, that's for sure. Do you feel that art was a way, like a safe haven for you during those times?
Yeah, I think just all the time. Since I was
Yeah.
like I feel like that's almost like the reason why I started drawing was um, to just deal with emotions. Like if I felt happy, if I felt sad, if I felt shy, or I mean, sometimes it was just for fun. Like I would draw a lot of like mice and houses and things like that. Um, but like yeah, for the most part, it really just came from like yeah, expressing my feelings. Because I know like later I figured out like some people drew because they really just wanted to copy something that they'd seen, or they liked, characters that they loved. They would draw those. I had some of those too, but for the most part, a lot of it just came from like wanting to draw funny things, or yeah, feelings.
Feelings. Were your parents supportive of your art?
Yeah, they were really supportive. I think like I say a lot in like the story of how I got to where I'm at, that like when I was trying to decide where to go to college, they didn't want me to go to like art school right out of high school. But it doesn't mean that like throughout my life they weren't like really supportive of like artistic pursuits or being creative or like music or
Mhm.
um, like anything that I wanted to try that was kind of creative. They're both really creative people too. So like I definitely feel like a little of it was like um, we know how important it is to be supportive of this kind of thing. Like especially my mom, because she was a musician, and she would like in addition to teaching elementary school, she taught music to kids.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so I think like especially her, like just the like she really knows how to nurture the strength of creativity in children. Like I got that a lot from her when she was I don't know, just throughout my life, even now.
thank you, mommy. Yeah, that's so sweet. Is she on the cast? No.
She might be. She's I've tried to put her in different stuff, so
Well, speaking of your family, you had the Welcome to My Life short, which was produced by Cartoon Network. Is that right? And it was the second most viewed short in their entire history. So congratulations on that. For
thank
anybody
you.
that's interested, Welcome to My Life can be viewed on YouTube. So definitely go and check it out. And it also won the Audience Award at the New York International Children's Film Festival. So how cool is that? Now, is T Cash, the actor that plays T Cash, is that actually your real life brother?
Yeah, so
Okay.
um and he did have like a like it's based off of his middle name, Takeshi. So he yeah,
That
he
was
went by T Kesh as a rapper for a while. And he was actually really good. Like I was glad to go see him once. Like it was one of those things where you're nervous because like it's your brother, so you're kind of like, well, I'm gonna support him no matter what, but I also hope that he's good because like that'll be weird. And he was good, so yeah, I really
Yay.
loved showcasing that
Yeah.
fact.
And so how did they what was the genesis of that idea for that project? How did you decide to shoot kind of that docu style um I don't know if you have a term that you use for it or
Yeah, I mean, like I had I had been really inspired by Creature Comforts, which is this short by Nick Park, uh, where he like interviewed regular people and then he turned them into zoo animals using like clay or yeah, stop motion clay animation. And I think like seeing how funny and charming and original that was, like I kind of always wanted to do stuff like that, and I just generally kind of like um, improvisational stuff. Uh, so I think it was that combined with like my brother had actually written like some writing about himself. I think it was for like a high school English class. He had written about how he felt um, kind of like me, like shy and just like not necessarily like super into being outgoing and seen, but like uh, for me, there was this realization that like um, he's getting a different kind of pressure based off of how people assume that he is for his size, you know, like he's bigger than me. Luckily, it's like if he was my size, it'd be probably hard for him for different reasons. Um, but like just reading about how it was hard for him because I think, you know, like, and then asking other friends who were kind of like bigger dudes, like, do you run into this, like, where people feel challenged by you, or for whatever reason they feel threatened by
right.
you and they treat you a certain way? And they were all kind of like, yeah, definitely. And kind of wanting to just figure out, like, how do I show all these things that my brother is talking about that are really like funny. Like, they're really
Yeah.
personal and funny. And thinking like, oh well, what if he was like a like the most awkward thing in high school? What would that be? Oh, if you were like a giant monster and you couldn't hide that. And then what if I just really interviewed him about it? And then it kind of all came together that way when I was in school. Uh, and then I just sort of like, I don't know, I went for a really long time without working on that. And then I just kind of got inspired to pitch that idea again to Cartoon Network and kind of like had already, I mean, essentially done all this development like years ago for it. So
Right.
yeah, and
Yeah. So is it because you were over there, you were working on it was it when you were on Adventure Time or was this
yeah, I had
okay.
actually come back. So like the first time that I was on Adventure Time, I was a board artist, and then I left to go to Sony after the first season. And then around the time when they were in their fifth season, uh, Ken kind of called me up to see what I was doing, and just basically wanted to know if I wanted to come back to direct. Um, and I wasn't sure because like I'd never done that before, so mostly that was why I wasn't sure.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and then
Did
I
you know
had,
that that was the direction you wanted to head in, or was that sort of the first? Oh, so he was kind of the one that was like, "Hey,
yeah, I don't think I
Elizabeth, have you
really,
thought about this?"
yeah, for sure. Like him and Adam, I think, have both approached me about it, and they also were really kind in that they explained what the job was before, like you know, before I accepted it, because they wanted to be sure that like I was okay with like one, like the way that it's different from being a storyboard artist or a writer,
Mhm.
because it's sort of more like you're trying to help their vision, make it all the way through until it's getting animated and through till the end. Like, because sometimes there's like big edits you'll have to make or just adjustments you'll have to make. But it's just different because like you're not putting as much of your own personality into the storyboards. And I think they just wanted to double check. Like it's like a lot more managerial and less creative. Um, so like I appreciated that they gave me that kind of cushion to understand that like what the job was before I dived into it. But I was still nervous doing it, so at the beginning. So like don't get me wrong, it's still nerve-wracking.
Yeah. For anyone that's just tuning in that might not know what this show is called Alicyn's Wonderland. It is a weekly animation and video game centric podcast or IGTV show that is becoming a podcast as well. And we interview different people that work in animation and video games. And today's guest is Elizabeth Ito, creator of City of Ghosts for Netflix.
Also,
Um,
congrats on your show becoming a podcast. That's really cool.
Thank you. We started as a web series in 2009 and then became a podcast. And I just didn't realize, oh, you have to actually be consistent with things. And that's kind of part of the job. So I rebooted it in September, you know, amidst the pandemic. I just felt really disconnected and wanted to build community again because I was off social media for a year and a half and that was pretty good.
Yeah,
It was
that sounds
really
really good.
good. I was so much less distracted, but you know, the reality is I didn't want to just live as a digital hermit. I wanted to, you know, be connecting to people. So, and this is so great because now I just follow my natural curiosity, and my son turns me on to things too, to see, you know, some of the amazing projects like yours. Ryan Crago is coming on in a couple weeks, who
Oh,
created
that's
Arlo
awesome.
the Alligator Boy. You know, just a lot of friends that are voice actors and stuff. No, so to answer your question, I'm going to call you 2002 because I think it's weird if I call you Alicyn Packard Fan 2002. It's not the last. It's going to continue as an IGTV show, and then we're going to purpose the audio for the podcast later. So, but yeah, anyway, back to you, Elizabeth. You've had a lot of different types of jobs working in animation. I was wondering, do you have a favorite?
I mean, I like a lot of them for different reasons.
Yeah.
Storyboarding is actually really fun. It's hard though. It's hard work because you're drawing. I mean, a lot of the things that I've been working on anyway, you're drawing and writing at the same time.
Mm.
Um, but like, I don't know. I have a really good time making people laugh, or like I enjoy making people laugh. So, uh, I think like any way that I'm able to accomplish that is what I like to do. Like I like to board stuff that lights up a room, or sometimes it's just like making your friends laugh. Like that's a lot of what Adventure Time was. Like it felt. I always feel like it's challenging a little bit to make Penn laugh because he's got a very specific sense of humor
Uh-huh.
to me, but I also have a similar sense of humor. Um, And I think like it's been the same for directing. Like if I can help a joke really land, or if I can help, I guess it's not always jokes. Sometimes it's dramatic moments. Sometimes it's like poignant moments between characters.
I mean, how many
Thing,
times have I cried watching City of Ghosts?
yeah, that's been a big one. A lot of people
Hug
have
my
been
kid
crying.
closer. What to do? So,
Um, yeah, so like
yeah.
stuff like that. That's what I like. I like affecting people's feelings. That sounds manipulative to put it that way, but
Isn't that what the arts is, really? Now, what about, I mean, are you a member of Women in Animation, that organization? Yeah, me as well. You know, they're always releasing the statistics about just how underserved the female voice is in animation. And I was wondering, do you find yourself, do you ever find yourself the only woman in the room or one of just a few?
Yeah. Um, there's there's more now. I think people
Yeah.
are different studios have been making more of an effort to give us shows and to like staff us in higher level positions. Um, but I think like it could still be like 80% better. I think we've just started. I think
Yeah.
like uh me personally, like I feel like there's a lot of stuff that got um kind of like not mixed up, but just like put on hold because the last year and a half about has been so difficult for everybody.
With
Like we've
COVID,
all,
you mean specific.
yeah, with
Mhm.
COVID,
And
with all of the multiple events that have happened over the course of us being also in pandemic at the same time that like overlap, where I think like it's just felt like there's been a lot of scrambling to kind of like figure out a lot of things
Mhm.
that have needed to be figured out, still need to be figured out. Um, so like I want to say it's better. I just hope that like we can kind of like once we're starting to come out of pandemic and come out of all this stuff, that like we'll be able to reevaluate a little bit and kind of go like from everything that we've learned and considering the like kind of the pause. I'm considering it a pause just because like for me personally it's felt like um just having to prioritize what am I dealing with at this particular moment, like what's in my control to do right now. Like even just today I was like, man, I still feel that sense of like I'm not at like 100% productivity ever
yeah.
anymore. It's like maximum is maybe like 75%, and that's like the best days. And then the rest of it's kind of like, I did okay, I made it through today. Let's get
Yeah.
through like this week. It's felt a lot like that. So um yeah, my hope is just that like when everybody's reaching a point where we're all resetting a bit, like yeah, doing that in a way where we just keep the momentum of the progress that we had started going.
In terms of female voices in animation. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. For anybody that's interested, Women in Animation has both student and memberships for people working in animation. So even if you're not currently working in animation, you are able to join as a student member or somebody that's associate member. So definitely check that out. They have lots of great panels and other events. So
I'm
yeah,
sure
I mean,
for you too, though, it's probably been difficult, like as a mom. Like, I mean, like that's been one thing with women in animation that I've been um, pretty vocal from the moment that I became a mom about like how do we make it easier for women who want that, or men who want that, whoever wants it. How do we make that more possible and easier? And then that
yeah.
was another thing that during all this stuff and having to figure out how are we working and taking care of our kids at the same time. Like it's just been a lot.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's taken a while to learn. I was sort of already working from home, so it's a little bit different. But as we learn to adjust to working from home, there's a lot of upside in terms of saving time in your commute, you know, having lunch with your family. But there's also a lot of constant interruptions, especially if you have little kids. You know, just a minute ago, my son was like out here with a hula hoop, like, like, hey, you're on a string, you know. So it's a juggling act, and maybe, you know, maybe the next evolution of this whole thing is us evolving to. I mean, this is just a concept I have, but for there to be less delineation between genders. I mean, my husband and I really do try to share the workload fairly easily, and we have to, you know, get some support in other ways too. But as we come together and sort of parent more in community, I think, and the daily tasks are not necessarily falling on the women. And I think in a lot of ways we owe that to our parents' generation for raising these awesome husbands that are like, yeah, I'll do the dishes. Yeah, babe.
You're totally right. Like, that's also something I have to have a lot of gratefulness for is like my husband Kevin. Like he also worked on City of Ghosts with me. He runs his own studio, and yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know how any of this would have worked without having a true partner where we can, sometimes stuff ends up you feel overloaded, but like having the ability to talk about it and work out a solution, like that's been, um, yeah, one of the key things to me being able to do any of this.
Absolutely. And like Christine just mentioned, um, the struggle between having to give your kids attention, but also, needing to give your work, your art, your creativity attention. And sometimes the art and the creativity or your work and your art are kind of different. You also need time for creative play, which is, a lot of that went out the window in 2020.
Yeah.
But it's a new year. It's already May. Happy
I
St.
can't.
I can't believe it's already the 5th of May. That's amazing. Um, yeah. So, I mean, there's so much. Wow. Okay. I'm like a little bit losing my train of thought because I am very interested in women in animation and how everybody's dealing. And you generally do hear that the women that are able to make it all work and fire on all cylinders often have a lot of support, which is not 100% always the case. And there's plenty of single moms killing the game too. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so City of Ghosts, it just premiered on Netflix. Was it February? March?
It was March 5th.
March 5th. Okay, so
Yeah.
April. So
I've lost track of time too,
it's been
so
2 months. 2 months, yeah. And I saw you guys had your Times Square Billboard debut. That was pretty cool.
yeah, I was so excited about that. And also, but I've also been so um kind of like sad to miss out on getting to like go see it. Like I was like when they told me they were gonna do it, it was, prior to when they do it, they
Yeah.
tell you like here's the plans. Um and like I just thought, man, like I wish I could go out there and see it, but like, for the best of everybody, it's probably better for me to just rely on their
Well, it was
professional
like right
photographers.
early. It was like March, right? It's one more month.
Yeah,
It's a tough
totally.
time. What do your kids think of the show?
They love it. I mean, like I pretty after they, were its biggest fans, I was pretty much like that I nailed it. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like I don't care what happens really. Um yeah, they love it. It's been really funny like we talked about earlier. It was really funny like as I was working on it, sometimes I would show them episodes and they would like just continue to repeat lines from the show. So that was really funny. They like saying Peter's name a lot because of his ringtone or Zelda's ringtone. There's like a another thing where like my daughter's lately been saying hello, is anybody in there, like because she's copying Zelda in the last episode. um and yeah, she's like I think she really loves Atomic Nancy because she's told me many times like, oh, I love Nancy Sekiza because she can't say her last name yet.
Yeah. So how did you find the characters? I mean, how did you cast this? Are they real people? Are some actors and some are real people?
Yeah, it's mostly real people. A
Wow.
big amount of the credit goes to my documentary producer, Joanne, who her and Katie Ledane like just researched the heck out of all of the like random ideas that we had talked about, and like people to talk to, and like places to visit. Uh, they handled most of like basically like calling and pre-interviewing people, to kind of like give me a selection of things to listen to and think about, and then eventually, yeah, just kind of like organically figuring out these stories, or as organically as possible, and kind of like me going, I think this voice sounds like an interesting prospect. I think this person sounds really interesting. Maybe if we combine those two. And then it was really just like meeting the people, in person, and kind of like developing a little bit of a comfort level
Mm-hmm.
before we were actually going to record. Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, it was a really interesting process. Um, I've never known another animated show to do it this way, unless it's actually like a real documentary most of the time. So I feel really glad that we were able to do it like that.
Yeah. So would you eventually bring them into a recording studio? Or would you bring gear to their location? Oh, so eventually it was.
Well, we tried a few different ways. So like what's really funny to me is that, at the very beginning of all of it, like I think I had asked if it would be possible to do this like field recording. Like, could we hire, a sound guy to
Boom.
basically
Yeah.
go with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, and set it up like if it would make people more comfortable to record, where they were at, or like at a place that was comfortable to them. But it was it was tough to do that because like for animation, a lot of times they really want the sound as like as clean as possible, so that if there's ambient noise, it's added later. Uh,
Hmm.
so like they said no to that pretty much, but we tried out other things. Like I basically said, I don't necessarily think we need like a the recording booth. It'd be cool if we could try it in like a screening room. We could try it in a situation where you could set it up so it's like we're having a real interview. So they don't feel too much like they're recording takes. They don't feel like they're recording lines. So we did that for a few of them. Like we got set up in like, normally they're used for like screening, movies, or screening like, episodes of things in the main Netflix building. We like recorded audio there,
Okay.
with like a sound guy, and
Hmm.
then there were a number where we went to United Recording, which is like this amazing like rock and roll recording studio on Sunset that just
Oh,
happened to
wow.
have an arrangement with Netflix.
Uh-huh.
So like what was awesome, like I mean, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but like what was awesome recording in
Tangent
front of
away.
Nancy was, yeah, like we brought her into this space, and she was looking at like they have like the typical kind of like photo wall, like photo grid wall, where it's just snapshots of all of the famous rock stars that have recorded there. And she was like just looking at this like, uh, spread of people, and she was like, "Oh, I know that person. Oh, that's my friend. Oh, I can't believe that's them." And it was just really cool to have her, there to see all that. Um, and then just that space is amazing. Like I think like there's a reason why a lot of people recorded there. You can, I mean, similar to what we talked about on the show, like you could just feel the history in that building too. And they talked about how it was probably haunted. Like one of the, engineers was telling us one day, and so yeah, it was all really exciting.
Perhaps your season 2 location.
Yeah.
Um, so I know that May 6th you're going to be on a panel, owning your story by pop creators for NYICFF. Did you want to just give them a little plug and let us know where we can go check you out tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can find, links to it on both their Instagram, on NICIF's Instagram, and then, I think they might have something on their website about it. But yeah, it's a panel where we're going to be talking about owning your stories, and, yeah, I think it'll be fun. Like it's like it's always been really fun to work with them. They've been so supportive of me and my work, so I hope you'll check out our talk.
That's awesome.
I think
For
it's at 2 p.m. our time
2 p.m.
and
Pacific.
5
Okay.
yeah, 5 p.m. their time.
Awesome. If you want to, I'll try and find it and I can share it to my stories too, in case anybody wants to check that out. Um, sorry, it was a little ADD, right? Do, do, do. Um, but taking it back, so City of Ghosts is now fully launched and all the episodes are on. Is this just the time to kind of reflect and take inventory, or do you find yourself already trying to jump back into the next thing?
Um, yeah, like I was trying to take a moment to kind of like I mean basically just like enjoy other people enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like which has been really really nice. Like I couldn't be happier with people's reaction to it. With I feel so grateful that kids love it. I feel grateful that, your son loves it. It's been nice to just talk about it.
Well,
And
and
like,
even just in the comments, best show I've seen on Netflix. Can we get more episodes? I agree. Best show I've watched this year.
yeah, and yeah, I appreciate everybody who's checked it out and who's reached out. I haven't had a chance to write back to everybody. I'm not sure I'm going to to have that chance because it's been really epic, and I've been really bad about getting back to people's emails during all this stuff. Um,
Understandable.
but like, yeah, I think I've also just always got a lot of ideas on the back burner, and I'm
Mhm.
not really sure what will be the next thing that happens as far as like what I do, but it's definitely like not to be like a broken record about this year and everything that people have gone through, but like I feel like for me it just amplified the thoughts that I've had about like how important it is that the stuff that we work on like truly matters, like, and who it matters for, and like especially like if I'm making shows for kids and families, um what like what messages and what energy do I want that to represent? Like, what do I want people to feel from that work? So, um, just like the last year being so hard on people, I would like to like make more work that makes life easier and better for people as much as I can.
Yeah, I strongly identify with that as well. You think about the vibration that, each bit of TV that they consume, which is so much more than ever before. I mean, thank you, global pandemic, for we used to just watch TV on the weekends. There was a time when we just watched TV on the weekends. The time
Okay.
is long
Yeah,
gone.
we didn't used to watch Octonauts like for a couple hours every day. So like,
Another great show, preschool show too. Um, but yeah, you think about what do you most want? I mean, this is the youngest generation, and what legacy do you want to leave, and being able to raise people's awareness while also staying true to kind of the heritage of not just the city, but different cultures that live in the city. And it's very KCRW. Which is like, I guess, leads me, which you already kind of talked about a little bit, to my final question about what do you hope fans get out of your work and your story? And I think that's, what you were saying is, how can we make this world a little bit better through art?
I mean, number one, I hope kids really like it and they laugh at it like more than anything. Like I just hope they see themselves appreciated for like how some adults like value them, just like that I and everybody who worked on the show, I think, consider kids to be smart and I don't know, they're they have to be the future, you know, because they literally are like here in the future. So
Yeah.
beyond me. So it's kind of just like wanting to show that, wanting to just give them like a realistic but funny historical show. Um, and yeah, I think like for me, like a broader appreciation of like the spectrum that different people's brains are on, not to get super deep about it, but like I feel like you mentioned ADD, I feel like a real appreciation of like how much more info we have now on things like that, because like when I read a lot about it, I think like, man, I feel like I would have benefited from this info when I was a kid.
Yeah. 30
I
years.
wish I had had it. So like making more content that speaks to you know, neurodiversity and things like that. Uh,
Definitely. I do notice we have a couple questions left in the question box. Are you comfortable taking questions from the audience?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Hope you guys did a good job. All right. This is,
Should I click on a box on my screen or do you want to
I've
read
got it right
them?
here.
Okay.
What were some of your favorite characters from City of Ghosts? I guess that's like asking you to pick your favorite child, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to speak to some of your favorites?
Yeah, like, I mean, every ghost was like special to me in some way. Like all of the real people I met, I know that's like a really safe answer, but I truly mean it. Um, but like, maybe in a way to kind of like promote them beyond City of Ghosts, like I hope all of the kids who voice characters get more jobs doing voicing characters because they were good at it. I think like uh
Were they actors, or were they
it was
also kids you found in your research?
it was it's tricky in that they're not SAG, so they're not SAG actors, which was like
Mhm.
sort of the reason why they were able to do our show. But they were not necessarily not interested in acting. So like I think they are actors, just maybe not in SAG. The only caveat is that like if they all get work and they have to join SAG, then I might not be able to use them for like City of Ghosts continuations because I don't know if that's still going to be like how it works. Um, but like
They have come
I
back. They're so crucial.
yeah, I would just love to hear them in anything and everything. So every single kid who did a voice for my show should get employed at another studio on another TV show doing many voices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy to if any of them want to chat. Or we also 2 weeks ago, last week, I can't remember, Juliet Donenfeld was one of the guests. She's 11 years old and she's just doing amazing job. So that episode is really good for any kids that are interested in getting into voiceover.
I
She's
watched a large
did you,
part of it and it's adorable.
it was definitely interesting interviewing somebody that was so young, but she's so talented. She's the youngest person to ever be nominated for an Annie Award for voice acting. So she's got an amazing career behind and ahead of her. So let's see. Christine asks, the outlook of the Ghost Club members is goals, right? GOALS, goals. Are they modeled after people in real life or imagined ideals? Are they kind of playing themselves or?
um, I think they're kind of imagined after like kids that I know. Some of them I think like I saw a comment about Zelda eating string, and I think some some things like that are just like details that a lot of the artists that worked on the show kind of added that they felt like were them as kids. Like I feel like that particular detail is very like Akko, who's the director of that episode where that string eating thing starts. But it's stuff like where when she brings that up, like I would think like, oh, that's relatable. Like I feel like I had a friend who was like that when I was a kid, or there was some kid in my third grade class that was like that. Um, so I think like part of it's like stuff that we knew as kids. Part of it's like asking kids when they were doing the voices. Like I think about Peter when he was doing his beatboxing. that was something where like we just asked him like, can you beatbox, and he could do it. So it's like I feel like there were aspects to like their characters that would come out when we would ask them to do certain things that we didn't always know, that were part of them, but like became a little bit part of their own characters.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's amazing what you find when your creative process is not traditional. You know,
Yeah.
who knows if you came in with a fully scripted idea of what was going to happen in scene A and B, you might never have discovered that. Yeah. Let's see. We have one. Let's see. Okay. Chris Battle Art was wondering, you mentioned that there was a City of Ghost, like how you'd like to have a City of Ghost Dodger Stadium episode. Any other concepts for episodes or locales that you would like to share?
Oh man, a lot. I did have this one like random fantasy lately of um like if we did another season, it would be sort of funny if it was like adjacent to LA, but maybe not like exactly in LA proper. So like what if we did like a shopping mall and like because I watched this documentary called Jasper Mall that I really enjoyed, that was pretty much about just like kind of like a dying shopping mall. Like I forget what town, I think it was in Jasper, but like um yeah, it was just really interesting to me because it was really like about a normal place that everybody goes, and kind of like the evolution of it. So I was in my head, I was like, is there some kind of like there was this shopping mall that I saw that was like locked up in Palm Springs, where I was like, what if we went to Palm Springs and did something about that abandoned shopping mall? But
City of
I don't know.
City of Ghosts, Cathedral City.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you absolute, all your dreams come true with this show and any other future projects that you work on. Did you get to have any
Thank you.
screenings or anything like that, or did COVID kind of
We
prevent?
had a Zoom screening, that was really emotional for me because my whole crew basically made this video where they were all saying thank you and how much they enjoyed working on the show. And like, it was just like a lot to take in. So I like ugly cried on this random Zoom call. Um, but like, it was like, processing a lot of other things too, I think that had happened this year. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, like I really hope once this is, we're out and able to go do things in groups again, that uh, I can have screenings regardless of whether like there's going to be more City of Ghosts on Netflix. I would love to just do events where we could meet each other and talk about the show like safely somehow.
I mean, you had shared in your Instagram, I don't know if your stories or your feed, your KCRW like reception idea.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that should be a thing. I mean, a collab there, maybe
That's like my,
City of
that was
Ghosts in
my
the Bowl or
dream. I
something.
was like, yeah, my hipster dream was like, yeah, this like KCRW event somewhere. It's
But
like,
now it's
yeah.
gonna be like Novena and like, yeah.
Yeah, somebody else like just retired from like Morning Becomes Eclectic, and I was like, there goes another DJ that I can't like
Was it
not.
Ann Lit? Yeah.
No, I think it was like I'm forgetting, but I'm sure somebody's gonna remind me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your time. It's been so lovely chatting with you. I feel like we could do like six more of these because it's so interesting and your process is so beautiful. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so
I
much. I
appreciate it.
really appreciate
Oh,
you having me on.
oh, you're welcome. Before you go, do you mind just saying your name and saying check out Alison's Wonderland or something like that? This is Elizabeth, because then I'm gonna cut them all up into little
Oh
pieces.
yeah, sure. Um, this is Elizabeth Ito, and make sure to check out Alison's Wonderland.
Thank you. Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and share this with anybody. The replay will be available. And thank you guys so much for tuning in live. Elizabeth, thank you for your time. And
Thank
everybody have
you.
a great Wednesday. Bye.